Welcome back. I'm Ryan from Blue Gaming, and we are here in the somewhat late review of Battlefield 1. This was originally, I was originally going to play through the campaign of this, but I ended up getting sick for that week, and then I ended up playing the Dark Souls 3 DLC afterwards. There was also another problem, and let's just start the review here with the campaign. It's a very long tutorial, and that's not even the worst part of it. While it does tutorialize pretty much the entire 6-hour experience, because yeah, it's about 6 hours. Each of the missions is a little bit less than an hour. World War I and II are some of my best points in history. That's the time period that I know the most about, and the sheer ridiculousness of what goes on in the campaign was enough to have me stop playing it for almost an entire week. There's two of the most notable parts. One of them is you're playing as a heavy gunner in the Italian army, and you're just running around with this huge machine gun in full metal plate armor, supposedly in 1918. Now, they did have full metal plate armor, but they kind of got rid of that the year the war started, because they quickly found that bullets went right through it, and there was really no upside to using it. They just made you slower. You couldn't maneuver as well because it was bulky, and bullets went right through it. So they got rid of that essentially pretty quickly in the war. The next really ridiculous thing was there's an entire mission where you're in an airplane destroying flak guns by just going straight at them with a machine gun in a plane. And that is a little too stupid for me. Just a little bit too stupid for me. For those of you that don't know, flak guns are a type of gun specifically designed to take down airplanes, and they are exceedingly efficient at doing so. Essentially, they shoot out this shell that explodes mid-air, and it damages the airplane by having an explosion go off right next to it. Yeah, having an entire mission where you're taking down anti-aircraft guns and flak guns, yeah, no, that doesn't happen ever, unless the aircraft is a significant distance away from said gun. So yeah, those two instances alone had me stop playing it for a week. Also, the fact that it tutorializes everything isn't all that good. Finally, all of the missions that you play in the campaign are pretty much just on multiplayer maps, but pieces of them are cut off to kind of direct you in a more linear fashion, because they are already open multiplayer maps. They have to point you in a direction to go. So yeah, there's really no point to play the campaign if you know how to play Battlefield, or any shooter really already. So yeah, for the rest of this, we're just going to be talking about the multiplayer, because let's be honest, this is really the reason why you're playing Battlefield 1. I gotta say, it's actually quite amazing. I had a bunch of fun playing through this. I'll start with the complaints first. The weapon, the class leveling system from the beta is still here. Nobody thought that they were going to take it out. The problem is that, like in the beta, all weapons in said class can be unlocked from levels 1 to 3 in the class, while levels 4 through 9 have no weapons in them. Like, when you're leveling up your class, no matter what it is, level 4 through 9, you have nothing. Then once you reach level 10, you are given a special primary weapon and a special secondary weapon to use in that class. The secondary weapon can be used on any class, but the primary weapon can only be used on said class. And from what I've heard, the first section of the levels 4 through 9 will be filled in a DLC, either the Russian or the French DLC, and then the second section of the levels 4 through 9, however they want to split it up, will be in the other DLC, whether it be the French or Russian DLC. So, yeah, that's a little bit of a problem. The thing is, though, it is much harder to level up your class in the full game than it was from the beta. In the beta, it took me maybe a game or two to level up once, and you only had to do that 3 times, and now it's much harder. In the beta, I believe that you could level up your class from doing pretty much anything. Just anything to get you points would go towards leveling up your class, and now it's kind of different. The way that you level up your class now is dependent on which class you are. For medic, it's pretty much revive people, revive a whole lot of people. For support, it's something along the lines of use your mortar, give people ammo, and sometimes the emplaced guns give you some experience towards that. The problem is you don't really know what each of the classes do. Like, for the life of me, I can't figure out what the sniping class, what you have to do to upgrade it. For the medic and the support, it's pretty self-explanatory, but for the other classes, like the assault, it's pretty much just kill people, I guess. It's probably out there somewhere of how you do it, but the fact is they don't tell you in the game, and I think that they should, because it's such an integral part. Because some of the later, like, level 3 weapons that you can get are much better than say, like, the base weapons. Well, they're not strict upgrades, they're side upgrades, and some of them are actually kind of better for different situations. The thing is, you'll find yourself in some of the same situations over and over and over again, and the weapons that are good in those situations will be better more than the other ones that are good in situations that you don't normally find yourself in. Now, going to another big problem that some people had is that still has to deal with the classes, is that the weapons, most of them were not widely used in World War I, if used at all. And this is something that I said in my thoughts on the beta. I personally don't really care. It makes the game a lot more fun to use these weapons that really got obsolete by World War II. This is the main reason that I actually like some of these weapons, and I stated that in my thoughts on the Battlefield beta. But quite a few of these weapons that people are complaining about being experimental and prototypes, they weren't really used widely until after World War I stopped, but they were obsolete by the time that World War II came around. So there's no real spot that you can really ever use them in a game. So if you're gonna spice up World War I by throwing these guns all over the place, well, I'd rather have it done here. If they followed World War I very realistically, then everybody would be running around like with just bolt-action rifles, and, well, there's not really a whole bunch of difference in 5 different bolt-action rifles. They're all still bolt-action rifles, and that would lead to, I would think less fun gameplay. Although, if we look at Verdun, which is actually a realistic World War I trench shooter that have a review on my channel if you want to check it out. It does it realistically, but everybody pretty much has to get used to a bolt-action rifle, because all the other guns, while they are in that game, they are very, very rare. And say I just want to run around in the trenches with a submachine gun in Verdun, I might have to wait an hour to an hour and a half to find the one game where I can play in the one squad that has the one guy who has the SMG, where here I can just choose a different class and use said SMG. And I'm actually completely fine with them using these prototype weapons because, like I said, they aren't used anywhere else. So, moving on, they did change the classes from the previous Battlefield game. The Assault class is pretty much like what the Medic was before, but now the Medic is a new class. Well, the Medic is a different class now, the Assault class is new, but there's no more Engineer. That's mostly, a little bit is split up from the Assault and Support, but there is an actual vehicle class now that you have to get by spawning in on a vehicle, so that's a little different and new and kind of decent. Pretty much the other classes are the same. The Sniper pretty much has nothing changed from it. The Support pretty much plays the same role. The Medic, while they don't get to use assault rifles anymore because, well, there aren't any, and it only gets to use semi-automatic rifles, a decent change. And then the Assault class being completely new is what most people are going to use if they're not really playing to the class, because the Assault class is just there to kill people, and that's what most people are going to do if they aren't playing, if they aren't actually playing the objectives. Moving on, something that I was a little worried about when I heard that they were bringing it over. They brought back the battle packs that you can that you could get in the previous games, although they made improvements. Actually, there's 3 different types of battle packs. There's the common one, which will give you pretty much anything in the game, common level up. There is the uncommon battle packs, and they will give you any weapon camo that is uncommon and up. And then there's the rare ones that will give you one of the 3 or 4 different rare camos. And those cost different numbers of scrap, and thankfully in the last game you could buy them in with actual money, but now you can't do that. It's the only way to get battle packs now is to either earn them through pretty much just random number generation. At the end of a match, it chooses a random number of people to get a battle pack, or if you get, say, something that you already own in a battle pack, because you can get duplicates, you can then scrap a weapon camo for this scrap currency and buy more battle packs. And I actually think that is kind of an upgrade. Sadly, you don't really get like new knives and stuff, because that was a fun part of the previous battle packs. But now you can only get weapon camos. There is 2 special melee weapons that you can unlock by getting battle packs. The thing is, though, they split them up into 5 puzzle pieces, and you have to collect all 5 puzzle pieces of one of them to actually unlock said weapon. And even then, still, it's just a new cosmetic thing. I would have liked them to have like a wide variety of different knives like they had originally, because there was There was a decent number of knives out there then, not as many as there is now, but there was a decent number. So let's move on to actually the variety of maps that you can play on, because there is a pretty wide variety. This might be the only World War I game that I know of the few that I do know of, that actually goes to Africa and some of the other places besides just the trenches of Europe. While there is still Europe in here, there's a sizable number of maps that are actually located in the desert, and well, all of the maps are very, very fun to play. There's not really very many that I have any problems with. One of them, though, is the map called Suez. If you played it, you'll know that it's three. Well, this is specifically in the Conquest game mode, is where I have a problem with this map, because Conquest is pretty much the only thing that I play. But there's three objectives in it that are all really, really close, and separating the map pretty much down the middle is one giant sandbank and one giant sand dune, and pretty much from the sand dune you can see to the edge of the map on either side. The problem is that on the British side of that sand dune is objectives A and B, while on the Ottoman side is objective C. So the British normally, from what I've seen, the British normally win that map because they're able to hold down their side of the sand dune, and so because they are able to hold down two objectives, then the Ottomans can't really get to objectives A and B, so they normally end up losing. That's pretty much the only problem that I have with a map. The rest of them that I've found have all been really good, and there's a wide variety, everything from palaces in France to the sand dunes like I was just talking about, to actual like full-size towns, and there's even one that's set in a city, and the entire map is just you going corner to corner, just fighting in a pretty bombed out city. And while there is still enough buildings there for you to consider it a city, there is some major damage to that place, and it's a good thing that you see a pretty wide variety of the maps. So now, kind of continuing on with the maps and kind of map control I was kind of talking about earlier, I've finally figured out the way to explain to people why I play Battlefield more than I play something like Call of Duty. And pretty much before now, I was never really, I didn't know how to put into words why I like the feel of Battlefield and not Call of Duty. But essentially now I've been able to do that, and it's comes down to, you can tell in Battlefield 1 where the front lines of the fight is, and how the actual battle lines change, and you can tell where your side of the fight is and where the enemies are, and it's all kind of just intuitive of how you can tell how the battle is playing out, and you can tell where the front lines are, and that's something that you don't really get in Call of Duty. One of the things that helps is because of the size of the maps in Battlefield. They're big enough to allow for these armies to pretty much just crash together and actually make these front lines where you can go to a part of the map and there won't be any fighting. You can sit back in buildings and just pretty much sit there for a large portion of the game in Battlefield, and you'll maybe hear a gunshot or two, but everything else will all be in the distance, and you can actually like tell where you control, and you can fight. Going back to the example of the city map, you can tell which like block and which street you and the enemy are fighting over. And if you go back a few blocks, yeah, there's still going to be some people, but these are mostly people getting like vehicles ready and such, and you can actually like feel how you're losing control of streets and how you're trying to push back the enemy building to building, door to door. And that's something that you don't really get in Call of Duty because everybody just runs around. There's no real map control. There is kind of, but it mostly just comes down to knowing where the spawns are in Call of Duty and being able to look in the direction that they might come from. And pretty much every Call of Duty map has the 3-lane system where the basic map design is 3 lanes and then different ways to get between those 3 lanes. While Battlefield, you don't really do that. It's a giant box. It's a giant square box, and you just get to fight in that giant square box. There is no lane setup, and because of that, there is a big difference in the way that games play out. So, yeah, that's pretty much the reason why I have found that I like Call of Duty better, is because it feels more natural and realistic in the fight. Because, well, this is how armies actually used to fight, and it's not like Battlefield tells you, hey, this is how you're supposed to fight, is to set up just a firing line from this line of buildings and wait for the enemy to come to you. No, that's kind of just, it just happens and it just works, because people know to not just run over a cliff and get shot. Where in Call of Duty, it's, oh, I'm going to go around this corner, I hope nobody's looking at this corner. Yeah, that's pretty much the main difference. Moving on a little bit more, let's talk about sound. Pretty much because of all the new weapons, it actually sounds like new gun sounds for once, which, when I was playing the Call of Duty beta, oh my god, I swear I could hear maybe half the sounds that I heard were just reused assets, where in this, pretty much everything is new. I haven't heard really a sound that I've heard before. There might be some small like background sounds that have been reused, but pretty much every single gun sound, besides some of the pistols do sound a bit of the same, but pretty much all the main gun sounds, all of the character sounds, all of that sounds new and fresh and very, very good. I actually think that the sound in this game is better and crisper than even Call of Duty, which is its main competitor. Yeah, the sound is just A+ on this. Then moving on to another thing that's A+, the graphics. This game, as you can see in the background, it's not as good as it looks because of compression, and I'm not going to go into how compression works, but the game looks amazing, and it looks even better than how you're seeing it, because this is only at 720p, and if you have it cranked up all the way, it's only at 720p, where I believe it runs at 1080 on the PlayStation 4, which is what this is being recorded off of. It looks amazing, and I pretty much have rarely seen better graphics than this. Moving on once again to pretty much the last thing, and that is the DLC that has already been announced. There's been 2 major pieces of DLC that they've already announced. One of them was the French, which I wish that they were in the main game because of how important they were to World War I. But I understand the reasoning behind putting them in a DLC, because they get to work on it longer and pretty much refine everything about it. And the reason why they gave behind making the French their own DLC and the Russians their own DLC, because those are the 2 main ones that they've announced, is that those 2 armies were so influential in World War I that they decided to be worked on longer than when they wanted to put the game out. So they were going to hold these back as DLC. Now, I don't know how much they're going to be. I'm expecting them to be like $10 each, if not maybe even 15. Now, well, we don't know what's in them. I believe that they've already confirmed new weapons and some new maps, but yeah, we really don't know much about what weapons or anything, or at least I haven't heard what's going to be in them. So yeah, let's just move on and finish this up with my final thoughts on it. I really liked my my time with it. I've played through the multiplayer up to about level 35. All of my different classes are level 3, except for the sniper class, which is only level 1 currently. I intend on putting more time into it, although this is the first Battlefield that hasn't convinced me to get their upgraded account stuff of Battlefield Premium, because back in Battlefield 4, when I think it was the best, they gave you just 12 additional battle packs for just signing up. This time it's 14, and you get 14 special dog tags, but that's it now. Back in Battlefield 4, you got the 12 battle packs. You got priority in server queues, which thankfully there's not many server queues anymore. You got access to 2-week early access to all DLCs, which does come back in this one, but we'll have to see how many DLCs there is for this, because I've only heard of 2 so far, where Battlefield 4 had 5. And then also you got weekly content in Battlefield 4, which could include anything from more battle packs to special knives to special weapon camos. It was pretty much, you got a whole good amount of special stuff that you could only get in Battlefield Premium, and really they haven't came out with anything that encourages me to get Premium, so that just saves you $30. But yeah, if I was asked if I would buy it again, knowing what I know now about it and having the experience that I have had with Battlefield 1 so far, I would definitely get it again. And if I wasn't playing another game by the name of if I could speak properly, if I wasn't playing another game by the name of Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, then I would still be playing this. I might be playing this even over Titanfall, which sadly I haven't gotten to play yet, but I swear I will play Titanfall before the end of this year. But yeah, I really, really recommend this game. Like, extremely recommend this game. This is one of the best Battlefields. It's essentially the quality of Battlefield 4 months after Battlefield 4 was released, because it had a pretty rocky launch. But this one has a very, very good launch, and there's still a lot of people playing it, and I think there's going to be a lot of people playing it for a very long time. And there's enough here to keep bringing you back, because there's more to unlock now than there was even at launch on Battlefield 4. I think that there was less things in that than there is in this one. So yeah, I highly recommend getting this. And that has been it for my review of Battlefield 1. My next couple of videos will probably be more Dark Souls 3 Arena videos. There might be some Xenoverse 2 content. I do have a special review that is even later coming out than this. Yeah, there's just... stay tuned. It's going to be coming in the next couple of days. So, yeah, that's it for this video. Remember, I'm Ryder from Blue to Gaming, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.